if you are, on the right-wing dating app, you're going to be looking for a real man, one who is masculine and strong, like, for instance, Ben Shapiro, who has been, what was amazing about this? Like, I don't know who Lizzo is. Okay. And I don't think that should become as a surprise to anybody. I don't, my cultural references are very, very limited to anything that took place, 25 years ago, and nothing since then. But as soon as I saw that both Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh were talking about Lizzo, I don't even know what their gender is. I knew that this person had to be a black person. I mean, it would just had to be a black person. Let me guess. Because it's like so arcane what they're talking about. And for the both of them to be talking about this as a story. So here is, let's start with Ben Shapiro, who is enraged because apparently Lizzo, who is a recording artist.
Yes. Very good.
Was playing former President James Madison's crystal flute. Which is kept in the Library of Congress, and she was playing it on one of her concerts. And apparently, Shapiro did not like the way that she, was playing it. Okay, I mean, I should have known if he's. Here we go. Oh, go! He's looking particularly masculine.
I mean, he's quarantined. He's in his home.
Is he sick?
I don't know. It looks like he's not in his studio.
That beard is sickly.
It does not look good. But let's see this.
The reason the clip is viral is the contrast between a person twerking and the idea of an extraordinarily classy instrument, a historic instrument that speaks to sort of the gentility of America's founders being brought into a context that
all right, pause it. I'm sorry. No, that is not even subtle racism at all.
We have a gentry way of doing things around here, and you're not really respecting it, Lizzo.
Madison was genteel in negotiating the 3/5 compromise, but Lizzo, because she is a black woman, has to be aggressive and not becoming of the crystal flute. Man.
How do I put this? She's black, is what I'm trying to say.
First off, instruments. I feel like you could go and question 1 million people in America, any group of people you wanted, and ask them to describe James Madison's flute. Yeah. And not only will none of them say genteel and reminiscent, they would all, I would say, 98% will think you're making some type of euphemism.
Right.
But
I mean, Ben wants people to play with his flute, but they won't.
Militant Apathy says that Lizzo is literally classically trained.
Yes, she's amazing. We played some of it yesterday.
She's classically trained,
so
but is
beautiful.
she classy? I don't know.
It's a classy instrument. All right, but let's continue here.
Of American history. Again, Lizzo did both, and only one of those clips went viral. And so if you notice that, then you're very, very bad. If you notice that, then this means that you're some sort of racist, or it means that you don't want black people playing the flute or something. No, I just don't want people twerking with historic instruments. By the way, I'd be similarly offended as a violinist if there was a Stradivarius. Somebody had a Strad, and that Strad was lent out to a musician who then proceeded to twerk on the Strad. I would also be insulted, because it turns out that great art should not be degraded. Great art, American history, they should not be degraded by juxtaposition with vulgarity. That should not be a controversial position, but we've now reached the point in American life where nearly everything is a controversial position. Literally everything. Every day on this show, there's some clip that is taken that is utterly uncontroversial and then made into a thing on Twitter. Because we now live in a world where we do not have a shared reality. This was a point that was made by an account on Twitter called Wocal Distance. And he was saying that we don't have a shared reality.
I'll go a little further into the clip. This is just him being complaining people criticize him.
He's upset that people are criticizing him for being upset. The classic no twerking with a classical instrument edict that everyone has been abiding by in our shared reality. We all know that everyone in the country has always had a prohibition between twerking and classical instruments. It's just something you don't do.
You don't twerk with a historic instrument unless you're sleeping with a Republican member of the Senate.
Now, of course, twerking, exactly. Twerking with a guitar, fine. Twerking with, a piano, like Jerry Lee Lewis, or, twerking as long as the camera frame is here, below, like you'll remember Elvis Presley. There was a reason why we only saw him from the neck up, was of course because there were classical instruments on stage, and we had to be prevented as a society from seeing him move his hips in that fashion and have it juxtaposed with, let's say, a piano, which of course is a classical instrument. Or
George Washington's teeth were actually around his crotch. Like they were just right there.
As you know, the Elvis Presley had a stand-up bass in his when he played. And of course, that's why we could not see the lower part of his body, because of at one time, we as a country agreed we do not want to see any gyration in the hip area juxtaposed with older string or wind instruments. Continue, please.
We can't have shared values. It's very difficult to see how you have a future as a country if you don't have some sort of shared value. The part that's kind of astonishing to me on a personal level is I don't understand why.
I just wanted to announce that the Civil War, the impending Civil War, is not going to happen because we share the value that you should not twerk around classical instruments. Yes.
I mean, this is
Ben Shapiro has brought us all together, and there it is, ladies.
This is so important to peace. We should get the Quincy Institute on maybe systematizing which instruments are okay to twerk with and which ones aren't. The tuba, that seems you're probably safe to twerk with that. The harp, probably not. But I think we need to really do some research.
And we need some categorization of other acts of dancing and gyration. You can motorboat an electric piano, but you cannot motorboat a classical piano. If it's a Steinway, they are virgins. Just do not subject them to that.
Stein.
And please don't do the robot. Please don't do the robot on a xylophone, people.
Well, here's the thing. It would be nice if Ben really wanted to put out a list of which instruments you're allowed to twerk with, shake your booty with, or whatever it is that he finds to be offensive. This is so, my God. Continue.
Lizzo would do that, right? Lizzo is enough of a musician to understand the nature of historic musical pieces of art. And so the degradation of that, why doesn't she personally have the respect for the instrument and respect for the history enough not to twerk with it? And by the way, the left would have the same exact reaction if somebody took the Mona Lisa off the wall at the Louvre and then went and twerked with it at some sort of rock.
I'd literally
have exactly the same reaction, because degradation of the past, degradation of great art is part and parcel of something that the deconstructionist left loves. They love the idea that great art doesn't exist, that all art is equivalent, that Robert Mapplethorpe's Piss Christ is actually a form of art. Right? Everything is art in the eye of the beholder. And that's what's really going on here. And if you notice it, then they're like, how dare you notice this? Well, if you hadn't made a big deal out of it, I wouldn't have noticed it. If you didn't think it was historic, if you didn't think it was important, you wouldn't have done it. It also demonstrates, by the way, just how much the sort of institutions of American government have been taken over by members of the woke left. When you have members of the Library of Congress who are reaching out to Lizzo to have her twerk with a flute.
So he's saying that Lizzo was essentially, I guess, drafted to degrade the Madison's flute. And did he say the left would be upset if the Mona Lisa was twerking?
Yeah.
Flute is not comparable to the Mona Lisa. This flute, it's a crystal flute made by some rich Parisian back in the day, and it plays like a flute. It looks nice, but to compare it to the Mona Lisa, 20 of these flutes were made. Is there right, making sure all of these flutes are being respected?
Wait a second. But wait a second. But the left would be upset if somebody twerked with the Mona Lisa?
No, but then he switches it and says, actually, they would like that because they don't respect art and anything is art and I had to work myself up for 20 minutes for this segment. Honestly, Like, Lizzo should have broken that flute in half. All right. James Madison owns slaves. All right. It's the year 2022. We should not deify the founding fathers. F that. Like, she was incredibly respectful. The fact that she shook her booty just a little bit while playing it and played a note. Come on.
Can we see a clip of this? Do we have a clip of the actual twerking? Because I need to assess here if this is a full twerk around the flute. Like, because sometimes
it's a mini twerk.
It's a mini twerk.
You can twerk a certain amount with some instruments and some art, but you can't go full twerk with a. First off, like, is he suggesting like some cabal of like situationists were essentially, getting her to degrade this art? I mean, that is the
Library of Congress.
That's the left that would, draw a picture on the Mona Lisa. Yeah. That I mean, I don't even know if the situationists would necessarily identify in that way. But this is pretty impressive. Let's see.
Bradley's pulling it up here. We're not.
We won't.
Mapplethorpe did not do, incidentally, or Mapplethorpe did not do the Piss and Christ.
We won't show like the. There's two videos that we played yesterday. One is where she goes and receives the flute from the Library of Congress, and she's in awe of how wow, this is so old and so beautiful, because she's a classically trained musician, I believe, and maybe that's what bothers Ben most about it, because I know that he's really into classical music himself.
She can play the flute better than he can play this dumb violin.
Stupid violin, yeah.
Here she is. Let's see this twerking.
Trigger warning.
It's crystal. It's like playing out of a wine glass, bitch. So
Avert your eyes.
Wait, was that it?
Yes.
Barely a twerk.
That was it, Sam. But just imagine if that was Kid Rock, like, twerking in front of Guernica.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Starry Night.
I can only imagine. The idea that someone holds in their hand the Mona Lisa and then go like this.
Dropping it to the floor.
I think I'm going to have to lie down, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, that is amazing. Amazing that they're. And of course, this is a plot by the Democrats and the left to promote glass flute twerking.
I said we should go for more student debt cancellation, but they're like, no, we got to put some resources toward the Lizzo flute twerk operation.